And we're back live in the studios here in the Mayberry of Radio Land. And I'd like to ask Mr. Smith, Integris, what is the corporate entity there? Where is the headquarters? How far flung is this company are you have a presence on the East Coast? Or tell me a little bit about Integris.
Well, what I can tell you,
I'm sorry.
What I can tell you about Integris is that they are one of 22 companies licensed to do business on the electric market in the state of Illinois. The office we deal with is out of Chicago. They're a huge company that does their own power generation and things all over the country. There are a number of electric power suppliers out there, really no different than Amren's unregulated side, or Direct Energy's unregulated side, or Exelon as a company out of Chicago. So there are a number of them. Integris just happened to be the company that put the lowest bid in that day.
What's unregulated side mean? Well,
the power production is the production of electricity. And in the old world, when I was in the business, Silco, and I talked to Silco as part of Ameren, they owned the power plants, they owned the pipes and wires, they did all the billing. When Illinois became a deregulated state, the utilities had to sell off their power generation and become a deregulated company. So it's a separate company, and that gives them the ability to sell power all across the grid. And that's a little confusing for people who don't understand the electric utility business.
Well, that covers a few of us.
Yes.
I'm sitting here thinking, what a quantum leap I've seen. As a kid on the farm, Keith, we didn't have electricity. And, you know, when the REA first came through, what a big deal that was. And now how complex this is now. It's just a quantum leap.
Now, I've heard from my dad and probably from your wife that straight row had electricity centuries ago. They were way ahead of their time. Straight row, isn't that right?
Well, that's what those folks out there east of town did.
What is straight row?
Straight row. That's community like Burtonview.
That's right.
Yeah. That's what they call it out there, straight row.
There are legends about straight row.
As opposed to lazy row.
There's a lot of history out there.
There is.
Some of you folks out there in the straight row area might want to straighten this out. 648-5510. Maybe Vince Pfeiffer is going to get this. Oh, my goodness, Vince is gone. My goodness gracious. Forget that. Maybe Tom might call us to straighten us out here a little bit about straight row. That's his territory. I'm just thinking, why would one, since you purport to, or not purport, but you tell us that we will have a savings of some 35%, why would anybody want to opt out, gentlemen?
I think maybe they might still be a little skeptical about it. It's important, I think, for folks to realize that this isn't really going to complicate anything for them. They will still get one bill. They'll still get the bill from Ameren that will say that will have the total amount that they'll have to pay. They'll pay Ameren for the electricity provided by Integris, and then Ameren will pass that on. So that it's not like they're going to get an extra bill from Integris. It's all going to be in one bill. I think there still may be some folks that might have a little bit of skepticism or wonder how things would work on it. Do you have other thoughts, Steve?
No, I think that's a very good explanation. Although in my travels around and working with a deregulated market and taking to other communities also, there are some communities that took the approach of, we have no complaints with Ameren and we would just like to stay with them. And I understand where they're coming from, because they still don't have a good grasp of how the deregulated market has changed the whole landscape of regulated utilities. That if you're a regulated public utility, they're buying power from any number of places at any number of times during the day, and sometimes. So it's an education process for many entire communities, as well as just individuals. So if that's the way you feel, and I don't blame you. I mean, like I said, I'm retired from there. I have no complaints. However, I understand how Ameren buys their power. The regulated Ameren that sends you the bill, that puts the wires up, that comes out and reads your meter, they don't have any power supply themselves. They buy it. So it's a difficult point to get people to understand sometimes. The one change that I point out to people is, if you're on an electric cooperative, you are not going to be part of this aggregation. Electric cooperative doesn't fall under the same rules in Illinois as a regulated utility, a public utility. So the co-ops, you know, you have Prairie Land Power, there are any number of co-ops in this area. Or if you're listening, City Water, Light and Power is technically a co-op. They're not a regulated public utility throughout the state. They don't have to allow their customers to look at aggregation. So if you're on it, remember that if you're in the country in Logan County and you're on a co-op, you are not going to be part of this aggregation.
Well, you see, we just take throwing the switch kind of for granted. We don't understand how complex it is to get that power to that given switch, and we just hope to heavens that the air conditioning switch will hold up.
Amen.
But there again, let's say the McGrath substation went out down here north of Lincoln. I suspect that would, I don't know how much of a Lincoln that would affect, probably a significant part. But if that would happen, it's Ameren's baby, notwithstanding the fact that we are now, or will be, Integra's customers as far as consumption is concerned, but it's Ameren's problem to go out there and fix it, whatever it is, at the McGrath substation.
That's correct. That is really pipes and wires, hard physical asset. And Ameren owns that, and they're required to take care of that. The only thing that changes in your bill, if you're part of the aggregation process, there's one line that currently will change. And a normal person reading their bill won't even notice it if they're not looking for it. But the cost per kilowatt hour changes.
So
Cost per
essentially it'll
kilowatt
look
hour.
the same.
The bill will look the same. There'll be one very small line on your bill, and what we call below the line, which is on your Ameren bill, you have all your fixed asset costs above it. The things that can change below it are the taxes and the cost of electricity. That's all that changes. If you're on Ameren's level pay, if you're any of those options that Ameren sends to you in your bill that you take advantage of, they stay there. Nothing changes. They're still responsible for all of the billing, all of the calls that you make into the customer call centers. Those are Ameren. That's part of their process.
It's going to be interesting, though. I suspect many of us, I do it always on my YouTube, I just divide it by the number of days, see how much it costs me daily, to see as just an experiment in curiosity is all it is. Still going to have to pay the bill, but it's going to be interesting to see how much per day that might drop. Of course, right now those meters are spinning like a top.
Yeah, that's right. And the process, by the time it will play out, as we mentioned earlier, the opt-out period will end July 31st, so people can opt out then. Integris is going to take those folks that have opted out and consolidate the other account information, and then get that information to Ameren. So basically, throughout the month of August, they'll be working out the billing and the coordination of accounts there.
Kind of like a logistics exercise?
Very much, yeah. And then, but hopefully by the end of August, and on your September bill, I believe it is that right, Steve?
The first bill that you will see your aggregation savings on is your September bill that you receive in September. That will be at the very earliest. That's the first bill.
Right.
So, and just to compare, and this will be in the letter that people get if they receive it. The Ameren price per kilowatt hour for the time period right now, from June 2012 to September 2012, the Ameren price is 6.13 cents per kilowatt hour, and the price that Integris will be charging is 3.965 cents per kilowatt hour. So it's about it's a little over 35% savings when you compare the Ameren summer rate with the rate that Integris will be charging. So,
but we mustn't be misled to think that that's a 35% saving on our overall.
That's correct.
Bill. I'd hate to have people get up in arms and storm the Bastille uptown or whatever they do, if just because they didn't quite understand.
Right. That's a very good point, because it is just the cost of electricity. So as we've mentioned, the delivery cost will still be the same. So delivering the cost for Ameren to deliver that to your house will still be the same.
And taxes and
taxes and natural gas. That's a part of it too with our bill. At least, you know, those of us with Ameren that have natural gas with them, that's part of the bill as well. So the natural gas will still be there. This is just the portion of the bill that is the cost of electricity.
The guy who gets the best deal is the guy who's all electric.
Now, do we run... excuse me. Go ahead.
Maybe Steve can address that, because it's interesting. Ameren does offer them a lower rate, and that rate probably is even lower than what Integris is going to charge us.
This is kind of a subject that we're trying to work our way through. There are a number of all-electric customers that have inquired already about that fact, and in actuality we were not expecting our negotiated rate to become lower than Ameren's all-electric rate. And with many of the customers that actually is happening, though. So
but it is becoming lower?
Yes. So bear with us. You may have to call us if you're an all-electric customer after you get your first bill to see where it works, because we really haven't been able to sort that out yet. But Ameren's all-electric rate is a two-step tiered process to 800 kilowatt hours, and everything over 800 is another price. So that is a little more complicated to get there. So bear with us if you are an all-electric customer. That may take some time.
You know, this letter that you're sending out here to the residents that we all have here, somebody's got to get their bill and say, my bill didn't go down 35%. But again, you're going back to what you said a minute ago. It's the kilowatt hours that the adjustment in the rate is being made, nothing else, just the billable kilowatt hours.
That's correct. It's just the billable kilowatt hours. That's one line on your Ameren bill. And it's about 2/3 of the way down on the first page. It'll take a little studying to find out what the one we're talking about is, but it's 0.3965 is the charge that should appear there. Now that won't start appearing until your September bill.
Right.
So that's the portion that's being reduced. The reality of the whole aggregation savings on an average residential customer in Logan County, it will amount to, depending on each household's different, but somewhere between $215 and $240 a year total.
Good deal.
You know, the one thing that if you've seen in the paper or heard us, originally we said that computed to about $2.3 million of savings that's staying in Logan County for the next 2 years, each of the next 2 years. When Ameren's new rates come out June 1st, they actually increased to 6.13 cents. And the overall savings that's going to happen within Logan County is going from 2.3 to about $2.44 million a year.
Big piece of change.
So when you start thinking about that, that's very significant from the county's perspective.
Oh, yes. What about if somebody buys my house, somebody from Tremont comes and wants to buy my house, and of course it wouldn't be over before the 31st of July. Now, if I have this program, would they pick up on that, or would they just have to wait or get the rate at that date, at the signing date? What does a new resident do?
A new resident will still have the option to become part of the aggregation, but there's no guarantee that they will get the delivered rate now, because those are directed at the existing customers. They'll have that option when they sign up for their Ameren.
I guess it could be summarized, Mr. Smith, that the Honorable Mayor and his city fathers were kind of on the ball to take a look at this situation as it was brought to their attention and give their constituents an opportunity to participate in this program. Would that be the summation be correct?
Well, I would say absolutely. You know, when we first brought the subject to Keith, he was like, well, I don't know. When we first brought the subject to the county board is, oh, I don't know. And to say it was an easy transition for him, no, it's not. And it's just like one of the reasons we're here today is we understand it's not an easy concept and transition for people to understand.
Well, it's like jumping into the pool. Ameren's a known entity.
Absolutely.
You know, this is not. And so you're taking this like on faith, really. But it's not like it hasn't been researched. It's not like it's not a proven thing, because it is.
It is, and you have to remember that bigger electric purchasers have been taking advantage of deregulation since the late 90s, and more so even so in the late 2007 and on, and now they've come up for a way to make it more adaptable and easier for the residential and small business customers to take advantage of it. And it all relies on the local entity.
Hallelujah.
Well, in closing, Judith K., I think perhaps we should make an attribution that really bad pun about the profits going through the roof at the prayer rugs and all. That comes courtesy of our roving correspondent up in La Crosse, Wisconsin, Mrs. Harvey. So we thank her for that. We always try to close, Bill, with some comment that hopefully will tie it in with the subject matter. And I found a little quotation about energy, and said, the live wire makes hay out of the grass that grows under somebody else's feet. Thank you for Viewpoint.